Hello everybody and welcome to lecture 5. In this lecture we're going to discuss functions we can use with strings. Now in the previous lectures we learned how to create a variable and we learned how to put a string inside of a variable. Now a string is just a collection of characters, and so let's go ahead and create a string here. So we're just going to call our string. Variable name is string now. Let's set it equal to, let's just say, programming in PHP. You can set it to whatever you'd like. And in the first example, we learned how to echo. So we're gonna echo out this string here, just so you can get an idea of what we're doing. We're going to be playing with the strings in this lecture. Now I'm going to be going over 10 specific string functions. There's so many more out there, but these are the 10 that I think have more use than some others, and that primarily focus on keeping the string as itself, but not encrypting it, because there are some encryption functions that use a string as the token to take in, but those completely change the way a string looks. So what we're going to do, we're going to play with some functions that have a use more so than less. So the first, we've never jumped into using a function just yet. We've learned how to use an if statement. We learned all those loops. Now let's jump into functions. So let's pretend we have a function. So, like with our if case, we have if, and then inside these parentheses is a case. This is basically the outline of a function. We have a function name, and then an open and closing parenthesis, and then inside of those parentheses there are going to be parameters. Now parameters are used to be passed into the function, and the function will know what to do with those parameters in the end. And when the function is doing or finished doing whatever it was told to do, it'll spit the string right back out, or the parameters, or a altered version of the parameters, so that we can use for later. So the first thing we're going to learn is how to get the length of a string. Now this function, you don't necessarily need a string per se, because in PHP you can juggle all these types very, very easily. So if you wanted to get the length of a number, you could do that. But we're gonna stick with this short programming in PHP little sentence. So to get the length of something, in our case a string, we're going to use this function called strlen. You say it however you want. You could say string length, you could say strlen. It's just a condensed form of writing string and length. So just like a variable, we can actually echo out a function, or we can assign it to a variable. So let's assign it to a variable. So let's create a variable called length, and let's set that variable equal to, we're going to type the function name here, strlen, and then open close parentheses, and then don't forget your semicolon at the end, and in between the parentheses just put the name of the variable. So now you have length equals string length of this string variable. So if we were to go ahead and echo out length, we're going to get the length of the string. It's going to include spaces as well, so if we want to calculate it, we can, just so we can compare our answer to the answer it spits out. So the word programming is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 plus a space is 12, plus the word in is 14, and another space is 15, plus 3 more is 18. So let's see if we get 18. We got 18. So the length of our string is 18. It's fairly simple. And now, for some case, we need to know the length of the string. Now we have it. Cool. Now, you can play around with string length. Say you wanted to print out programming in PHP, the amount of times it shows up, or how many characters are in the string. So we could do a for loop. So for, we set I equal to 0, and we can tell it that I is less than length. Since we're starting at 0, we're going to do less than length, because 0 through 18 is not going to include 18, because 18 is not less than 18. And then we'll just increment it by 1. And then we can echo out the string. And like we learned before, concatenation, we use a period. And then let's echo out a break. So now if I were to do this, it's going to print out programming in PHP 18 times separated by a break. So that's a silly use of using string length, but on Wednesday I'll show you another way we can use string length when we jump into arrays. So after we have this string length, let's say we wanted to take, somebody typed in programming in PHP like this. You know, it's not pretty to look at. Nobody wants to look at that. So maybe we just want to lowercase everything. So there's a string function that can lowercase everything. So let's create a variable. Let's call it lowercased. And then let's set it equal to this new function we're going to learn. This one's called string to lower, but it's shortened like string length was, but in this case only the word shortened is string, so it's going to be str and then to lower. And then we have a parameter string, we put that in between the two parentheses, and if we go ahead and echo out lowercase, we're going to get programming in PHP in all lowercase letters. Cool. Now say we wanted to uppercase that. So we create a new variable called uppercase, and instead of typing string to lower, string to upper. So now if we were to echo the two of them out, we have lowercase and then uppercase separated by a break. And if we go ahead and save it, now we have two separate strings. One's lowercase, the other is completely uppercased. Awesome. Now we can play with the case. We can play with the length. What if we have a small string that we want to repeat like 20 times, but instead of typing that string 20 times, we can just use a function that repeats it for us. So let's make a smaller string here. And let's make that string apple. We're going to call it apple. So say we want to repeat apple like 20 times. No one's going to want to type out apple, apple, apple. Like, no, that's not fun. So let's create a variable called repeated, and then let's set it equal to this new function we're going to learn to repeat a string multiple times. This one is called string repeat, but it's not like the other ones. String, although is shortened to str, there's an underscore separating the word str and repeat. So now we have this function str underscore repeat. And now this is a more fun one because it takes in two parameters instead of one. The first parameter we put in is our string, and then to separate parameters we use a comma. So the second parameter in this string repeat function is how many times we want it to repeat. So like we wanted 20 times. So now if we were to go ahead and echo out repeated and then refresh our page, we're going to get apple 20 times. To make it look nicer, we could put a space after the end. Now we have apple, 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 apple 20 times. It's simple. So this saves you time, saves you a lot of keystrokes, saves you effort, and you have this repeated string that I don't know, for some reason you want to use. Somewhere down the line you might find a use for this, but it's a fun little function to use, just because we have it, so we can use it. Continuing it on, now we have this repeated string. What else can we do with strings? Say we wanted to check if a string was a palindrome. A palindrome is a string that is the same forwards and backwards. So if we had, let's say, race car. Race car is a palindrome. So I have this string here called race car. I'm just going to remove the repeated stuff. But we'll save the palindrome test aside for now. But actually, let's make this string just something longer than a race car. So let's go anti-disestablishmentarianism. So how are we going to test if this is a palindrome? You're not going to want to go and see M-S-I-N-A. You're not going to want to type this backwards. So we have a function that can reverse a string. Now this one, it's condensed as well. It's going to start with str. And instead of reversed, it's rev. So stir rev, however you want to say it, string reverse. And then the only parameter it takes is the string we want to reverse. And then if we go ahead and echo out reverse here, we're going to get the something, I can't say that, nah. So how do we check if a word is a palindrome? Okay, so let's go ahead and put a palindromic word here. So race car, for instance. So if we were to save this, race car backwards is of course race car. So to check if it's a palindrome, we can just say if string is equal to its reverse, echo, it is a palindrome. If it's not, echo, it is not a palindrome. So if we were to go and refresh our page now, race car is a palindrome, so we should get an expected result of it is a palindrome. So let's change this to lemonade. Lemonade, of course, is not a palindrome. You might find yourself checking to see if something's a palindrome or not, and now you have a quick way of doing this. So you can reverse a string like that. Pretty simple. Okay, cool. So let's recap. We've learned how to find the length of a string using string length, strlen. We've learned how to convert a string to lowercase and to uppercase. We've also learned how to repeat a string X amount of times. And now we've just learned how to reverse a string. Now say, I don't know. I can't think of a real world situation where we're going to use this next function, but it's neat. So let's create a string here. Let's just lemon lime soda. Okay, cool. So say you wanted to, I don't know, shuffle the letters. See if we can shuffle them so many times that we end up with some perfect anagram that is an anagram of lemon lime soda. We have a function that can shuffle all the letters. So let's create another variable here called shuffled, and we're going to use this new function. It's called string shuffle, and unlike the others, but like string repeat, it's separated by the underscore, so we have str underscore and then shuffle. And then inside we have a parameter and we have our string. So all we have to do is echo out shuffled. Okay, now we're getting Loamad Ilnams. No, we keep refreshing. It's going to shuffle and shuffle every time we refresh. So now we have lambda noimalas, linema, I don't know. Wait, all these there. That lamincimo odal. I don't know. Just, keep refreshing, see what you get. That's how you shuffle a string. I mean, there's nothing really fancy about it. It literally does what we're telling it to do. Shuffle the string. Awesome. Now we have a few more to cover. So the next one is how do we get a subset of a string. So we only want a specific part of the string and nothing else. Or we want to just look at a string starting at a specific point. Okay, we have this. So if we wanted to find a substring within a string, we have a nifty function called substring, but it's substr as the function name. So let's continue with our lemon lime soda, because that's 5 4 4. It's easy to remember the positions of the characters. So say we just wanted to get lime out of this. So I'm going to create a variable called lime, and then substring substr. This one takes, technically only 2 parameters are needed, but it can take up to 3. The first parameter is going to be the string name, so we have string. And then the second parameter is where do we want to start the string from. So if we went ahead and count how many characters from the start lime is, we're going to get 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. So let's start it at 6. So if we echo lime, let's see what we get. We get lime soda, but we just want lime. So lime is 4 letters. So the third parameter inside of substring is how long you want the substring to be. So lime is the substring of string starting at the 6th character, spanning to 4 characters in length. So now if I were to echo lime, we're just going to get lime now. Easy. Say if we just wanted to get lemon. So 0 to 5. We get lemon. How about just soda? 11 to 4, maybe? I'm just guessing. Soda. There we go. So now we can separate these into 3 different words if we wanted to. In Wednesday's lecture, I'm going to show you an easier way how to split a string that looks like this into 3 given words. But for now, we're only playing with strings, not arrays. So we're going to continue with this substring method. So let's say we just wanted to make it to lemon soda. So we want to get rid of lime. So lemon would equal the substring of the string from 0 to 5. And then soda is going to be the substring of the string from 11 and 4 characters in length. So now we can echo out lemon space soda. And if all goes right, we get lemon soda. So that's how we find a substring within a string. It's very, very easy, and you'll actually find yourself using substring quite a lot. Now, what if you just wanted to check if a string was inside of the string instead of just getting a substring within the string? So now we're trying to look at the string to see if another string exists inside the string we're looking at. So we have 2 functions technically that can do this, that can tell us where that string starts. So I'm only going to teach you one because the other one is literally only 1 character in difference. This one is called string position. It's condensed like the other ones. It's strpos. So let's create this variable called position. And string position, we're only going to deal with the first two parameters. And the first one is what we call the haystack, so the string we're looking in. So in our case, string. And let's say we wanted to see if the word lime was in there. And it is. And we know it starts at the 6th character. So if we were to echo position, we're going to get 6. So that tells us that lime starts at the 6th character inside of this string. So what about lemon? It's going to tell us 0. So say if we were using an if statement to see if the position is in there. If we said if it was greater than 0, then that means lemon would have to start at the first position. So we would have to actually ask it for emon, not lemon. What we learned when we were talking about conditional logic, we learned that we have this equals 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 and not equals equals. If you really wanted to get the position of the starting string, the string we're looking for, then you would just use it as it is. But you should first check that this position does not equal false. Because, like I don't know if I explained before, but 0 actually is false. So if I were to echo if 0 equals false, 0 equals false, it would tell us that's true, because in this case it is. But when we're dealing with this string position, since lemon is considered to start at the 0th character of our string, it's true. So when we do position doesn't equals false, this compares both value and type. So if the position is found at 0, it's going to return the integer of 0. But if it's not found completely, technically it will return 0, but it will return a Boolean 0, which is false. So this is why we're comparing it against false and not 0. So if it doesn't equal false, then we can say lemon was found. Or let's make it our word was found. Else echo our word was not found. So if we were to refresh this, our word was found, obviously. So let's change the string we're looking for to like seltzer. So we're looking for seltzer. Since seltzer, we know for a fact, is not inside of this, if we refresh it, it's going to say our word was not found. So that's how you use string position to check to see if a substring is contained within the string that we want to search within. Awesome. Now we have 2 more. So let's jump right into it. The next one is, say we have this lemon lime soda, but I don't know. We want to change the flavors from lemon lime to, I don't know, kiwi lime. There we go. So we want to replace. We want to replace lemon with kiwi. Okay. So we have a function that does that. String replace. So let's create a variable called replaced. And string replace, like string repeat and string shuffle, it's condensed, but it's also separated by that underscore. So we have string underscore replace. This one's going to take 3 or 4 parameters, but in our case we're only going to do 3. The 4th one is to see how many times it was replaced, but we're not going to deal with that right now. So the first parameter inside of this string replace function is what we want to search for. What's being replaced. So in our case, we want to look for lemon. And what are we going to replace lemon with? We want it to be kiwi. And what string are we going to be looking in to make these changes if possibly found? String. So now we have this replace string. So if I were to echo replace now, it will say kiwi lime soda instead of lemon lime soda. So if we wanted to change lime to kiwi, we can refresh that. Now we get lemon kiwi. This is just some really odd flavors. Really odd. But, you know, someone might enjoy these flavors out there. So what if we search for something but it's not in our string, like the letter F? Letter F is not in our string lemon lime soda. Okay, it's basically not going to touch the string. It's going to keep it as it was. Now when we get into arrays, I'll show you how you can do a simple replace with multiple search and multiple replace terms. Just like that. But for now, this is a pretty basic example of where we replace a string we search, or technically a substring that we search for, with another substring, and we can get the result. Awesome. Fairly simple. Now, let's say we have like a really, really long sentence. So this is a really, 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 really long sentence. You know, if we were to echo string, maybe if we wanted to show a snippet of something, or we were in a small container that doesn't really stretch that far, and we wanted to perhaps cut it off at some point and then put the next line down below it. We have a function that can do this. It's called word wrap. What word wrap does is once it finds the specified number of characters, it's going to place a break at that spot, and then anything after that is going to be below it. And if there's another spot that it finds that length in, it's going to break it there again. So I'm going to create a variable called wrapped. And word wrap, it's how it's spelled, but it's just one word, no underscores, no none. Now, we're going to first use the first three parameters in here. So the first one is the string. The second one is how long do we want it to look at. So when it hits that number of characters, it splits the string. So let's just do 20. And then what do we want it to break it with? Technically, the width and the break are not necessary. But the default of a break is just a new line ending. So we won't be able to see that when we view it as an HTML page. But if we were to view the source, we would be able to see where it breaks. But for this purpose, we're going to change the break to literally just the break. So a BR tag. So now, every 20 characters, it's literally going to put a break. So if we were to echo wrapped, whoops, I spelled it wrong, put 2 R's. Okay. Oh, I forgot a P this time. Sorry. There. So now it's saying this is a really, 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 really long sentence. Awesome. But what if we have like a really long word here? So anti-disestablish, whoops, mentarianism. That's definitely over 20 characters. It's not going to break it. It's not going to break it. It's because it knows that this is one big word, and so it's not going to break it. So the fourth parameter inside of word wrap is this cut parameter, which is automatically set to false. But if we set it to true, so after the break we have a comma and then the word true, this will break inside of a word regardless. So now if I refresh this, we get anti-disestablish, and then a break, and then Arianism. And those are some basic, easy to use string functions that make your life quicker. It simplifies it all into one step. You don't have to go and do this yourself. So yeah, you'll probably want to look in the comments below or the description below for the lecture notes. Yeah, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Goodbye.